All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Monday, this dreadfully slow Monday afternoon. Oh my goodness. So let's wake a bunch of us up inside our live trading room here. Great to still see Chuck with us for now. But how about everybody else? I know Grant was with us here before, Mark R, but all of us inside our live trading room, just give me a quick chat back. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. And for all of us on social media, hey, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, etc. on top, at Cyber Trading You. I go double etc. there, kind of with Willy Wonka, a little Willy Wonka shout out there. How about that? So at Cyber Trading You, though, hey, just be a friend, tell a friend, make sure that you're following and subscribed right to our YouTube channel, namely. And with that, we are off and running. So if you didn't trade today, if you just came to your desk right now, well, where we say you didn't miss much, this is like the best example of all time here, because we don't have days this slow really, like maybe like once or twice a year throughout the entire calendar year. And I wasn't expecting for it to be on February 5th, that's for sure, even with it being on a Monday. Like, we are mid-earnings season, right? We have Fed speakers coming out tomorrow talking. We came off the Fed meeting last week, the CPI before that. So we really shouldn't be having this bad of a Monday. Now, with that in mind, the SPY's been pushing back up, made a phenomenal recovery. Oh, really quick. Hey, Eric, Brian, Chuck, Kathleen, all of our students here. What time do we normally expect reversals to happen? So, it wasn't on the nose exactly at 10:30, but it ended up bouncing roughly around that time, within the vicinity of 15 minutes, right? Give or take. So with that, ended up making a beautiful bounce at that point. Now, throughout the morning, it was as slow as can be because, even with the market dropping off, we could short, we could buy puts if you're more familiar on the option side, or otherwise, there could still be a stock or two that goes against the grain that makes a move on its own, like kind of pop or on its own accord. So one of our stocks here, at least, ADVM, great play at least this morning off the pre-market resistance, 180-ish, good for about 20, 25 cents. But that was like the only one. Everything was really just flat, stagnant, pop and drop ish. I mean, this obviously was as well. It came back down, but I ended up taking a decent one finally. It took a while, and I wasn't expecting this one to take a while. It's more just kind of the overall market to shape out. I would have thought we would have a better move or two before AMD, or before the market bounced, at least there. But on the AMD trade, we had a huge iceberg order. Great example here. I'll even show it on level 4. Just as far as seeing support, it was like 175 or even maybe 195,000 share iceberg out there. And actually, if I bring up the NASDAQ Bookviewer, even just good old level 3, you'll see one out there currently. But at least from this morning at 172, pretty big support, I'd say so. So with that in mind, it went down to it. It broke under it. It broke back over it. My best entry is to buy a stock. You know the deal. So with that, thankfully, this one led to a good one. Ended up flipping my negative into a positive. I was down this morning by 10:30, and that was actually the first in a little while for me there. Oftentimes I'll be like flat or like just barely break even. Like, I don't call minus 10 or 15 bucks technically down if it's just all break. This was down this morning. I was down this morning because I'm trying to, throw a few things against the wall and not just hope that they land, but setting tight stops. And it was kind of like death by 1,000 paper cuts for me this morning. So up until AMD, that is. This led to a phenomenal push. And even with this, man, I was lazy this morning. I didn't jump on my options platform today. I have it separate from TradeStation here. But, the better play could have been to buy option calls on this. Would have made a much larger return. But more or less, once it broke under and over the 172, I bought some shares on the stock and pushed up pretty nicely, right? I mean, practically level to level up towards 175. So let's even show NASDAQ Bookviewer here. Might move up so fast it could even pop up on my TradeStation matrix there if it gets close enough. But right there, you see it, I see it. 175, 170 or 183,000 shares, and made up by 75 total sellers out there. More of this gets closer up to 75. You'll see it pop up on the matrix there. But that's the type of day that we're playing with, folks. Really, not a whole lot is really moving as well, even with the market pushing back up now, ended up making a good recovery. But hey, what we'll do, honestly, is just go right from top to bottom. You know me. I wouldn't mind slipping good old AMD on our watch list, but it's not up or down a lot percentage-wise. It's just making a decent little play up to resistance here. So let's see if there's anything looking better. Gorilla GRRR. This stock from at least 1030, right when I jumped off the audio, this thing started to push. But below $1. We normally don't trade these stocks below $1, not because they're actual penny stocks. Like that, we nickname them that. They're not bulletin board OTC stocks. This is, right from the NASDAQ. But these stocks normally don't make as concise of a move. And this one, well, did. I mean, this was like the exception, I guess. Right? It was pretty similar to the PHUN stock back a few weeks ago with the DWAC trade that we had there. But you could see where this got choppy. Ended up chopping up to resistance at 120. Rich made that call out earlier in the chat board. I was on a coaching call with one of our students. It was like perfectly timed from Rich. About 25,000 share iceberg on the ask at 120. So it broke it. Unfortunately, though, laying over support does not make us money. Ended up leading to a big pullback from there, right? Hey, if it's not going to hold over our level and make a big move in our direction, I guarantee you it's going to make a big move just the other way. Well, since it technically hasn't made a lower low, ended up bottoming out, I guess, roughly around 107, 108. So you're saying there's a chance, huh? For this to try and break over 120 once more for the higher high. I'll come back to it. Not too keen to put this on our list just yet, but we'll come back to it, that's for sure. Put this down on our side list at least. Now, as we go through, everything else is going to be very thinly traded or just already dropping off. So this one just more thinly traded. Pretty good bounce, actually, but I'm not really as familiar with the stock. I don't have a great need to follow it really just yet. MOR, also pretty thinly traded, but this one's right at the highs. So I'm going to add this to our watch list, at least for now. This is Morphosis AG. You tell me what this company does. I have no idea. But it looks like we have some historical support that got broken through. Loosely speaking, this is just very loosely speaking around 21 to 22. I mean, we're getting close already. So maybe when it was at like $12, I wouldn't have expected that. But yeah, it's made a pretty good push already today. Still at the highs. Maybe we could see that by the close or maybe by the next morning, perhaps. But, just we'll see where this takes us from now. MOR. Yeah, Chia. This thing tanked today. It was a loser. Big losing stock. I mean, pretty expected when it has such thin volume out there, and we don't really have seen the stock trade before. It needs to gain our trust. KPTI, the stock we have traded in the past, but more on pop and drop type of days. So today, pretty good, up 34%. Pretty filled in order book as well. You know what? Doesn't hurt us to add this to our watch list, at least for the time being, and then we'll come back to everything else at the end. RVSN, hey, familiar name. Stock popped up earlier this morning, but then did nothing since, right? And with how thin the order book is, it just wasn't really worth it. So that's basically the theme for right now. ADVM, same deal. Like this, I'll kind of put on the side list for right now with that Gorilla stock. ADVM. I didn't really put it on any list just yet. So this at least was holding over past resistance as support, but now starting to shake back down. Not looking as good, at least on the immediate term here. So, by the end of this meeting, I'll come back to this. If it's holding strong, I'll add it. BTAI, pretty similar. This is actually looking like the MOR, at least much closer to the high of the day. More filled in order book for the time being this is. So BTAI, I'll put to the main list. Yeah, Palantir earnings after the bell today. PLTR for anyone interested in that. That's going to be a good side list stock to work with. Like typically, it typically is and will be. Definitely tomorrow will be on our watch list, I'd imagine. Mark, this is also a stock below $1. Made a huge pump up one day, but that's a rarity. We don't see these penny stocks nicknamed make a nice little move like that. But all right, so I'll tell you what, just if there's anything else looking good here, folks, like going up, looking up here, type it in the chat. Let me know. You got NVIDIA ETFs out there, so let's just take a look there. We had this on our watch list going into the open, right? Just very choppy move up at first, and then it slammed down with the market shortly after, but made a pretty good recovery. AMD, like we said, we started off with AMD. I'll add NVIDIA. Actually, it's a lot closer to the highs than AMD is, that's for sure. I just traded AMD earlier because of the money, because of the smart money that was being there at 172. So NVIDIA definitely stronger here heading into the close as far as high of the day. If you want to focus on like NVDL, is that it? Wow, it's already $156. Holy smokes. This is like it's 2-time leverage. It's not even 1.5, even worse. So yeah, this definitely made a pretty solid pump with NVIDIA just from its last earnings a quarter ago into the new year. Yeah, so I'll just add NVIDIA, AMD, I'm going to be more partial to that, but let's see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better, on the loser side. Again, if there's anything else looking good going up, just all hands on deck, honestly, here. Just let me know if there's anything looking good for all of our students or from all of our students or members on YouTube. Not NVDA, but NVTA. My dyslexia there kicking in. So what the hell happened to this? Jeez. I mean, down 78% right now. It's an 8-cent stock, so we're not touching it. But I didn't even see this until now. This one also, these stocks getting obliterated. IMBS, no surprise, this is down 36%. We saw the news that came out this morning regarding warrants being issued, but otherwise, big trees fall hard, don't they? It's pretty much the case with all of these trades. So, Alcoa down over 8%. Is that earnings related there? It's near the lows. So you know what? I don't mind slipping Alcoa on our watch list. Shout out Ron W. if he's in our chat board right now, longtime student. It's one of his stocks he trades. What the hell happened here? PLL, Piedmont. Lithium. Another lithium stock taking a big hit. So what happened? LAC down big. This is another lithium one. And that last one that we just had was getting crushed too. What was that? Piedmont, right? That was PLL. Not looking like sharp as a day trade. Just this thing's been getting smoked as far as like the swing. Just absolutely getting crushed. Over time, that could be a good dead cat bounce. Jinko, JKS, AMC. All right. So I'll tell you what, I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for me here, folks. We got a couple on our side list here. ADVM. It's like just lower highs right now. It leads me to expect a lower low. If it pops up just afterwards, then I'll be happy to just call it out from there, but I'm not going to put it on our list just yet. And the gorilla trade, you could probably say the same thing on. I mean, lower highs there too, right? This one I feel like could have a bit of a push left in it. Just that's like my intuition speaking. So if I'm wrong with that in the next 5 to 10 minutes and it dumps off, then obviously scrap it at that point. But you know what? I'll add the gorilla trade, if anything. Chuck saying LAES. It's just flat, man. It is just stagnant. And again, there's a lot that looks like this. There's at least up 22%. We had resistance at 3. I don't know. I'm just not really too partial towards it just yet. I mean, it's tradable, has a good book, it's cheap. But right now, lower high, that's a pretty clear lower high there. So if it ends up popping, again, like kind of similar to the other one there, we'll call it out if we need to. PHUN trying for a new high of the day, says Richard. So let's take a look at DWAC first, because that's kind of the lead horse out of all those trades related to Trump. I don't know what news is out on it, but hey, like we said a couple weeks ago, we don't necessarily follow the news as much as we follow the big price action. So if there's no price action, then we're not going to trade it, even if there's news out. But in this case, I don't think there is news, but it's been making higher lows throughout the afternoon. Higher lows oftentimes leads to a higher high. Now I start with this because that's kind of the lead horse out of all those trades. Fun, PHUN has been a pretty good one to go with it. And where we normally do not trade these stocks below $1, just given the hype behind, just DWAC and potentially Trump being the Republican candidate, I wouldn't be adding the stock to our list if there wasn't good price action behind it right now, right? So you don't need to trade this stock. That's okay. We got plenty of others to focus on. BTAI, NVIDIA, KPTI, MOR. But you know what? Fun. I'll put on our list Ooh, Rumble making a much better pop now later. Great call. And you know what? I always have been forgetting that Rumble has been going with that of late with DWAC. Rumble's like your in-betweener there. Yeah, and from Sam, who just shouted that out before him. So both of you guys, good call there. I like that. Yeah, I got to remember that more. Rumble goes with them now. Hey, the more shows it to us, I'll definitely remember. So it's like still pretty new on our mind there, right? But yeah, Rumble, good call. ESPR from Scott. Yeah, that too. I mean, um, this thing's like a slow poke, but it's been breaking out since we had called it out. I mentioned that in the chat. So you know what? I'll add this too. Good call from Scott. Scott, you got a nice variety here. You call out the high flyers out there, the crazy spreads, but you also see you coming to the level ones out there, which I like. You know, more of these, if anything, right? But this might be almost too slow. Let's get this to have a nice kick in the pants here coming up. That's basically how I described it in chat. Is it too late for Rumble? I don't think so. I mean, just a matter of just figuring out where support resistance is. I say this to everyone else aside from Linda. Linda understands this already, but to new members joining us, if I were to say no to Linda's question right there, is it too late for Rumble? No. That does not mean to jump in right away, right? So we just got to figure out where your levels are. Is it going to make a higher low? Is it going to make a higher high from there, right? That goes across the board to any member, and especially our new students joining us here. Just, even as a trial member, we don't want you to really even be trading these just yet, just to put yourself in the passenger seat for right now. And over time, the more that you see certain runners look to move from our call outs, icebergs, and seeing our students in the chat make some money here and there, it shows that this is not just once in a 1,000-year storm type of deal. This is every day. So good call. I like this. We're starting to build up a pretty decent list right now, folks. We got 2, 4, 6, 8 stocks to work with in total. Yeah, and that as well, right? Do your own research, right? But that's even where we tell you focus on what we teach in class. That's the most, that's the blueprint right there. But of course, just on top of it. Absolutely agree, Linda. Absolutely. Right. All right. So, folks, I think that we are going to finish up. I will be back on the mic. We're coming up at 3:00. Had some faulty Wi-Fi the last hour and a half. Rich, I know you're probably laughing at me hearing that. I'll talk to you on the side. But otherwise, I should be back on the mic coming up at 3:00 Eastern time. Otherwise, my colleague Rich will tag in for me. But otherwise, best of luck trading, folks, going into the market close. We'll be back on the audio here coming up shortly.